Welcome back, folks, and thank you for joining us again. In the last team, we went over the first 10 teams in the FPL for Season 5, doing some analysis of the drafts of the teams before we really got rolling. This time, we're going to go through those last 10 teams. So let's not waste any time. Matt, I believe you have a team you'd like to begin talking about.
I do have a team I'd like to begin talking about if the website being so slow, but I can up right on time. So, next coach we want to talk about is our Season 3 champion, and one of the original members of the FPL, one of the most feared coaches in this league, and that would be Mike B, the mayor of Snipe City himself, coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Mike has drafted a team of Terrakion, Zapdos, Galarian Corsola, Caparajah, Obstagoon, Orbeetle, Porygon Z, Primarina, Hitmonlee, Roselia, and the infamous Mega Camera. First thing you might notice when you look at this team, it's slow. And yes, it is slow. When you lead with something like Terrakion at 108, it's gonna be slow. But keep in mind, some of the speed tiers you have going on here, he actually fits his gaps from then on decently well. From 108 to 100, 95, 90, 87. And I think there's a gap from the 87 down to
65.
Roselia. Sure, the 65. But also keep in fact, one, this team has webs with Orbeetle, which is something that I know he was trying to take advantage of. And this team also has Trick Room. It's a potent Trick Room team. He's got two setters with that Orbeetle and the Porygon Z into threats like Mega Camera, Sheer Force, I'm going to end your life. Caparajah, Sheer Force, I'm going to end your life. And then he's got good bulk with things like the bulky Zapdos and the Galarian Corsola. Obstagoon has respectable bulk. Orbeetle has really good bulk. Primarina has really good bulk. It's a team. It doesn't have to have the Trick Room set up, but under Trick Room, it could be really scary to take care of.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and there are some teams I've seen really scream Trick Room at the top of their lungs. This one says Trick Room. It doesn't scream it, which is good. This team can definitely operate outside of Trick Room. This team is a little kneecapped outside of Trick Room because you're going to have a Scarf user of some kind. But even without that, you do have that bulk, like you said. Before we really get going on this, I will say I originally thought Galarian Corsola was a Tier 4 or Tier 5. I repent. It's a Tier 2. I've seen what it can do. It's worthy, and it really works well on this team.
It's disgusting.
It is probably one of the best Pokemon in Generation 8.
Not to mention, the best way probably to really cripple Galarian Corsola is to knock off its Eviolite. And if you want to click knockoff against this team, you are praying that he does not switch to the Terrakion. Get that +1 speed, the +1 attack boost from the Justified, and just wreck you. Before rock polishing in your face and wrecking you even harder.
Or the switch into Zapdos and static paralyzes you.
Just as fearful.
I mean, hell, Cursed Body on Corsola itself, you click knockoff on it, that's going to be its own problem. And that Corsola in Trick Room, I'm a little scared.
Yeah.
Most ones that want to click knockoff are going to be physically offensive. I'm going to click Strength Zap against you. It's like you didn't even knock off my Eviolite.
I like the way you say that.
And I'm looking at the hazard control here. Again, absolutely disgusting. Very well done. 3 Stealth Rock draw, 4 Stealth Rock users. He's got Spikes, he's got Toxic Spikes. He has Hitmonlee that can spin and Zapdos that can defog. That's really the only downside I see here. He only has those 2 options. But the good thing is Zapdos wants to be running defog. It can run a defog set comfortably because it is so bulky. And with the advent of boots, I know we've talked about that a lot in the last video, and we're probably going to talk about it a lot in this one. It does just make that even better. Sure, it loses leftovers, but it gives him an option.
TLDR, Game Freak, why the fuck did you make boots? It's so good.
It's amazing.
TLDR, Game Freak, why haven't we had boots sooner?
Yeah, true.
It's amazing. It makes so many mons viable. Hell, it made Vespiquen viable. I thought about drafting it.
Hot take, I still think
regret saying
Vespiquen is
that out loud
garbage.
on the internet. With that being said, look at this team. This team has really good offensive options. Yes, you worry about some of the speed that come with it. You got something like Primarina or Porygon that can hit like a truck, or things like Caparaja on the physical side, hit like a truck, camera up however it wants to. You worry about how it gets the speed set up. Something like if Porygon's going to be a Trick Room setter, you might lose out on its analytic ability. Something like Primarina, where the speed tier is really middling. You really put a lot of pressure on mons like Orbeetle and Porygon to set up the Trick Room for it, or to give away items like Choice Scarves and lock them in some situations. You have to see how he navigates the way that he set up the speed on this team and the way that he's going for it, but I mean, he's forced you to prep for a Trick Room option that he doesn't necessarily have to go.
And there's also the caveat of Hitmonlee has Unburden.
Yes, he does have, even though it might not show it just by looking at it, the fact that you have Fake Out Normal Gem is still a super fast mon. It can get up to, I think it's 600 total base speed, and very few mons, even with Scarfs, can get up that high. I think you need to be over 132 or 33 base speed with a Choice Scarf to get that high.
I'm looking at his priority too, and there's 1, 2, 3,
I just
4, 5,
counted.
6 different options on Hitmonlee.
There
it
is
doesn't even need to unburden.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 total.
Yep,
and Hitmonlee gets 6.
That shaky band and quick attack.
6 out of 8. That's 3/4 of the priority for Mike is Hitmonlee. That's nuts. Can the Hitmons learn less things, please?
I just want to say, Hitmonlee, even if it does unburden, can operate in a Trick Room just fine, wait out the Trick Room, and still be outspeeding. It literally outspeeds in and out of Trick Room simultaneously with this level of priority available.
Yeah.
And the coverage is great. It has normal, it has steel, it has fighting, it has dark. It's insane.
TLDR, we love Hitmonlee here.
Yeah, I
Hitmonlee
really
is good on this team. It will be pressured. It will probably need to bring Rapid Spin whenever you don't want to bring Defog on Zapdos. One of those two is probably coming every week because Zapdos really doesn't want to deal with Stealth Rocks or Beetle if it's going to put the pressure on it either to bring Webs or bring Trick Room every single week. Is not going to want to see all those out there. So you'll probably need that hazard removal more than you'll want to see it. But prep too much for it and say, oh, I'm going to bring all my rocks. I got all my rock and steel types that need to bring all these hazards. Oh, it'll be good. I have a Terrakion. I have a Mega Camera.
Yeah,
Switch into my hits.
He's definitely thought it out on how to deal with other people wanting to hazard him.
Yeah, and he's also definitely thought out dealing with speed tiers. I still wish he had something a little higher than that Terrakion, but he doesn't need it as badly as most teams would.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he's got the Unburdened Hitmonlee, he's got Tailwind off of Zapdos, he's got Sticky Webs, he's got Trick Room. He's got several ways to and the status off of the static off of Zapdos to get some paralysis. He's got some ways to deal with the speed, and I know he's a cerebral enough coach to be able to handle that.
Honestly, the only thing I'd say when it comes to speed is I'd like something between Hitmonlee and Roselia.
Yes, I know Hitmonlee was not his first choice spinner. He got sniped on several spinners throughout the draft. Things like Hitmontop and things like Serena. He wanted to help fill his speed tiers better. I know he tried trading. Oh, and he actually wanted Eldegoss. I know how much you were hating on Eldegoss earlier. He thought Eldegoss would have been good for his speed tiers. But I mean, yeah, it's a big hole. So we'll see. Overall, It's a strong draft. I think I want to see it executed in some ways. How you can balance a Trick Room and a Sticky Web, and also the fact that there are few hazard removers and the slow speed tiers. I still think it's probably an A. Maybe an A-.
It takes a lot to get going, so I'll lean towards A-, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an A. I really think that some of the options he has really offsets it. You're right, it does take a little bit to get going, but once it does, it's like an avalanche. It's hard to get started, but once it does, you're not stopping it.
Yeah.
No. Excellent. All right. I think we can move on. Hey, Buck.
Indeed.
Would you like to talk about the Pharr Texas Phanpys?
Yes, the Pharr Texas Phanpys. Coached by Diabetic Raichu. He is not new to the league, even though the site indicates he is. He switched out in Season 2 or Season 3, I think he was around for a couple of matches, and then he had to bounce. So we gave that to someone else. However, his team this season is Tapu Fini, Tornadus-Therian, Weavile, Infernape, Decidueye, Uxie, Miltank, Steelix, Garbodor, Rampardos, and Mega Ampharos. Now, looking at this, he's got good speed tiers. What really jumps out to me is the bulk he has access to. Tapu Fini, Uxie is particularly bulky. Most people don't expect it. Bulkier than Miltank, which is still bulky and has those recovery options. Steelix can take a physical hit like a champ. Garbodor is pretty bulky too, all things considered. This is a pretty fat team. Not the fattest we've seen, but it's a pretty fat team. It does, however, lean pretty heavily towards the physical side of things. His physical attack is almost 200 points total higher than his special attack, but at least he does have some mons that can special attack. Infernape can always run a Nasty Plot set. Tornadus-Therian is inclined towards special. So while he has less special options, they are there at the very least for this team.
I've been prepping for Rai for week 1. He's my first opponent. I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot of bulk, and he's got some pretty scary setup if you actually think about it. Something like the Mega Ampharos, which does have that 165 special attack. Clicking in agility, terrifying. Something like the Infernape can set up on both ways with Nasty Plot, with Sword Stance, and then it gets bulk up. The Weavile, if you don't prep for it, Sword Stances, you don't switch into it anymore. Heck, even the Steelix. The Steelix, we know it has Curse, which can raise its attack and its defense while lowering its speed. It also got Dragon Dance.
Didn't it also get Body Press?
And it got Body Press. Now, those of you that don't know, Body Press is similar to like how Foul Play. Foul Play takes account to your opponent's attack stat when attacking. This one takes account your defense stat as a fighting type move. So take yourself a Steelix. You have 200 base defense. At any given time, you might have a defense stat that's in the 400 or 500. And now turn that into a base 80 fighting.
Yeah, Al is correct. Al is absolutely correct. But I will say, with all of that setup, while this is not the most common move, there is one button you can click to kind of erase all of that and give him another huge problem. Excuse me while my Toxapex just clicks Haze.
True. Some of his offense does rely a lot on here. There are very few things other than like a Scarf Rampardos, where it can come in and it's already set to go through your team. Banded Weavile can get towards that way too. But some of these other mons need a little setup option or lots of chip to get its way in order to really start running through offensively. It relies on low early games, set up a lot of hazards, get a lot of chip damage, and hopefully get that one setup that can win the game.
Speaking of hazards, there is a lot of rocks, and there is a couple of very good defogs.
Yeah, some
You've got
really good defoggers here.
Decidueye, Finny, and Taunty, while it generally won't want to, it can. But Stealth Rock, you've got Infernape, Miltank, Rampardo, Steelix, Uxie. Like, multiple of those will want to be running them at some point or another.
I will say, I know it's not widely way, but I still best defoggers, if not the best defogger in the game.
You cut out. What was that?
Sorry. I was just saying, I know it's not widely regarded quite this highly in this regard, but I still think Tapu Fini is one of the best, if not the best defogger in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Second only to Empoleon.
I have Finny in another league, and it's doing phenomenal at removing any and all hazards, and people generally can't stop me.
And don't sleep on, again, we talk about boots a lot, but a mon like Tornadus with the regenerator not having to take stealth drop damage is enormous. It allows it to be a reliable remover now, because it's not going to take the damage to stealth rocks, and then it turns out after a defog, and it gets all that help.
True. The reason that I said that I doubt that it's likely it's 4-move syndrome with Taunty.
Tornadus definitely has that problem. It wants to run so many moves. It has defog, it has knockoff, it has hurricane or acrobatics, it has heat wave, it has superpower, it has icy wind.
It has grass knot, I think. I think it has grass knot, I'm not sure.
It does have grass knot.
Oh, okay.
So we've named like 10 moves that it wants to run. It has taunts.
Yeah, it's got so many things that it wants to run, but you've got to try and find the right ones for the matchup.
But luckily, with a team like this, you've got Weavile that can run knockoff. Decidueye gets again. Uxie has knockoff. We talked about Finny being such a great defogger. It's taking some of the pressure off of Torn and allowing it to run more offensively. And like we said, this team probably needs a little more offensive injection, especially from the special side. Tornadus has that option to be able to do it.
I do have something to say about this team that hasn't been said yet. This team is a Gen 7 team.
You're not wrong.
It is. But it's a Gen 7 team that takes really good advantage of Gen 8.
Oh, I'm not saying that as a bad thing at all. I'm just noting that there is 0 Gen 8 Mons here.
We'll see how that comes to effect. It is interesting.
And if this team does well, it just proves that Gen 8 isn't all. It might be all smoke.
It might be all a lie.
Gen 8 is a lie. You heard it here first.
It never is real.
Alright. Let's put some letters and pluses and minuses on this. Hey, Buck, you kicked us off with leading us into this. Why don't you kick us off here?
This is tough. I really like this team. I think I'm going to go with an A+. The hazard options are phenomenal. This wasn't said, but Weavile and Infernape together really do a great job of offensively covering each other, and I love seeing both of them side by side. I just can't push it up into the S range with how heavily it relies on setup, but this team does have the ability to get that setup out there.
What was the ranking again, sorry?
A+.
Right. Now,
I might be a little below that.
yeah.
Just a little. I think it's an excellent team with really good synergy. He got a really good budget defensive core. Yes, the Finny at the tier 1 is high in the tier 1, but then something like Uxie and Miltank and Steelix and Garbodor together really defend each other well. But I do think it's lacking a bit on that offensive side. I think it's reliant too much on, can my walls hold up enough and generate enough chip damage throughout the game so that way something can set up. I'm not sure if this team can win without a setup somewhere.
Agreed.
Or with something along the lines, whether it be Uxie getting up a Trick Room or Ampharos getting the agility up or something having to set up a couple of times and get through it. Now, granted, if that ever happens, you're in a lot of trouble. But I don't know if on its own it's enough. I think it's an A- for me.
Yeah, I think I'll go right in the middle of you two and just go with a flat A. Who is the next?
Time to move on to our next team, the Boston Blastoise. Inaria, would you like to lead here?
Well, I really wouldn't mind. This is one that, again, I don't really know the coach. This is Senpak. Someone I've never really experienced before coming over to the FPL to chat with you guys and sneak your way up into a position of power.
He's a strong coach. I've seen him make playoffs multiple times in other leagues. He's very, how do I say this politely? Cerebral.
Yes.
He knows his stuff. He really takes his time and makes the right play. It might take a long time, but he is someone who thinks through all of his moves, and he can outthink you to a win.
That reminds me of a certain other coach that I was very good friends with, so I like the way that sounds. Anyway, the Boston Blastoise drafted Mew, Scizor, Gengar, Rotom Wash, Colossal, Virizion, Mudsdale, Swellow, Dumbrion, Granbull, and Mega Altaria. So
At least Umbreon lost Toxic.
I couldn't say Dumbrion without the D. I'm sorry, but that's just a thing that's never gonna die. I hate that thing.
We'll talk about the other 10 Mons.
Well, the other 10 Mons are absolutely bloody sensational. You've got Mew and Gengar, which are phenomenal special attackers, and Mew also has the option now of Dragon Dance to be a physical attacker. You've got Scizor to take any unwanted knockoffs that want to come their way. Rotom Wash is probably... No, forget probably. It's the best Rotom form in the game. You just can't question it. Mew and Gengar, again, have issues with Ghost-type moves. Oh, look, there's an Umbreon right there. Yes, I actually managed to say it. And let's not forget the absolute thickness that is Umbreon, Mega Altaria, and Mudsdale.
Yeah, the fucking horse.
Well, we've seen that Mudsdale put in plenty of work in this league. We've seen something you put in a lot of really. You got so much better this generation. Inaria already found it got Dragon Dance to make it an even more potent physical attacker. Rather than having two sets of having to rock polish and sword stance, it can just do it all at once. It's scary because he has every coverage in the game, and now he puts the move slot for it. But don't forget, they also made spikes and toxic spikes technical records in Gen 8 too. So guess what else you can do? Set up every single hazard outside of sticky webs and debug them away if it wants to.
I just want to highlight this myself too. Looking at Scizor and Rotom Wash, I think that's some of the best 2-mon coverage I've seen in quite a while. They just completely cover each other in every single way. And the fact that both of those high-tier Mons are on this team is kind of disgusting.
Personally,
I run a cheeky flamethrower. Switch to my Colossal. I'm now plus 6 speed.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, personally, I prefer a Rotom Heat over a Rotom Wash, but I can't deny that Rotom Wash and Scizor is just absolutely disgusting coverage for each other. Especially going along with the Virizion. Because the electric moves that neither Rotom or Scizor resist. Oh look, Virizion just got. And the flying moves that Virizion hate, Rotom's got.
it's a good defensive core with good offense available too around. You don't sleep on the fact that Rotom-Wash got Nasty Plot. Don't sleep on the fact that Scizor has Sword Stance. Gengar got Nasty Plot. And then you could get something like a Swellow. Swellow, the stats don't say it, but if you get Guts or you give it Scrappy Specs Boom Burst, it breaks through some teams.
Yeah, I mean, Guts on that mon is gnarly.
We haven't even touched on Mega Altaria yet. That is the mon of many, many faces. You want physical? You want special? You want defensive? This thing's got you covered.
And it can be defensive, sit there and wall you, or it can be full support. I've got Heal Bell, I've got Defog. Whatever you need me to do, I can do it for you. And having some other mons around it, like Umbreon getting Wish and Heal Bell, and Mew can Heal Bell, Granville can Heal Bell for you. Opening up move slots on that Mega Altaria also makes it scary, because if you can let it be more offensive, it's gonna hurt you.
And hurt you.
Yeah, the only problem with Mega Altaria is it has a mediocre tier, and that's really not a massive problem.
It has agility and Dragon Dance.
And my favourite move for Mega Altaria, it has Cotton Guard. You ain't getting through that physical defense.
I completely forgot I got that.
It is worth noting it lost return, so that is a little bit of a detriment on its end. But
like we said with Diggersby last video, it does still have Body Slam though.
Yes, and Body Slam's a good move to get some paras on it too.
Yeah. Fairy type paralyzation move? Hell yes.
I do think maybe this team suffers a little bit in the same way that Rise team does. Looking at it, not all of these mons are immediate offensive threats. I think some of them require some sort of a setup. Maybe Swellow clicking Protector going straight in with the specs, but Mew probably needs a setup. Gengar can sort of get through you, but after those ones, you probably want Rotom to Nasty Plot, or Virizion to Sword Stance or Calm Mind, or Altaria to set up some way. I think it needs a little bit of a setup option. There's no immediate I'm a wall breaker threat.
Yeah, it does need a straight up breaker. Everything else is fantastic, except from that, yeah.
And worth noting a gap a bit in the speed tiers for Mega Altaria at 8, down to Umbreon and Scizor at 65. Since Scizor won't take often its full jolly speed, and Umbreon never takes any speed, because why would it? You let some of those mons in the 70s and the high 60s take that adamant nature, modest nature pretty easily. Especially even with a Scarf at some points. You only have to get above Swellow, which you're not really going to Scarf. You can make that work.
I will say, though, this team's hazard control is just absolutely phenomenal. I know we touched on the Stealth Rock and the hazard control when it comes to Mew, but Mudsdale with rocks, you got Colossal with rocks, you got Altaria, Rotom, Scizor, and Swellow all with access to Defog. This is very...
Colossal's a spinner too.
Yeah.
And get spikes.
This team is fantastic when it comes to controlling the battlefield. While it can't control like the specific players, it can control that battlefield. And let's not forget, Stealth Rock does do damage every time you switch in, unless you got them heavy duty boots.
Yeah, but that forces an item which you can prep for.
Exactly.
And his priority options are nothing to sleep on here either. I think. Yeah. Not that you want to really run Sucker Punch on Umbreon, but still, it's there. You have a lot of good options here.
Yeah, and I doubt you'll want to run Sucker Punch on Gengar and Rotom either.
I would pay to see someone do that and make it effective. But you know what I mean regardless.
Alright, so, Senpak, you know your job for the season, right? It's to cost our friend Matt here some money.
Yes. Find an excuse to run Sucker Punch on Gengar or Umbreon or Rotomosh as many times as possible.
And you've got to make it effective, so I want at least 2 kills.
Yes, I need one of them to run Sucker Punch that causes you to win a game.
Yeah, that works. Hey, Buck, you got anything to add here?
I think I've said pretty much everything I want to say on this team. It's just great.
Except for a letter.
Yeah,
Yes.
except from a letter.
I'm gonna give this one an A+.
I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you there, an AA+ ring.
I'm nodding my head here. Yep, that's unanimous. This thing is an A+.
Excellent.
You know, there's one thing that I've been wondering throughout the entire time that we've been doing these videos. When is someone going to give us a team that's that bad that it's a C? I want to give someone a C so badly.
Maybe it's our next team.
But who is our next team?
The next team is the Rochester Rayquazas.
And who are they coached by?
Coached by our new friend Clouds, experienced battler from within the Draft League site. He was in the FPL Open, and I believe made it, to the top 16 actually.
So the same as me.
A strong battler in his own right, and he drafted VT as Crocodile, Rotomo, Slurpuff, Malamar, Manectric, and Mega Gallade. And looking at it off the bat, I see depth. I see offensive mons, I see defensive mons. I see mons that can run multiple sets effectively. I see a Victini and a Mega Gallade that together have so much coverage. They hit just about every single type that you can think of. And they hit them hard. And they hit them quickly. And you've got things around, you've got a couple of bonds like even an electric and a fish that you could run with some thunder waves there. Where you've got some bonds like Empoleon and they try to win you. You can defog away super easily. Bonds like Blastoise can defog away super easily. Rotom can defog pretty well. It's some offensive bonds that can really. Now, do I wish I had a little more speed control? Maybe. But you got some mons like Azelf or Victini that can scarf up and still hit pretty hard. You can get around that decently well.
Now, do you know what I see?
What do you see?
I see a lot, and I mean a lot, of type overlap. You've got 3 psychics, 2 grounds, 2 waters. No, actually, make that 4 psychic types. I forgot Malamar too. And 2 electrics.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, and 2 darks with Crocodile and Malamar. That is a heavy type overlap. I'm not sure I like just how much.
That's true. A good ghost type or dark type kind of just comes in and runs shop.
Yep.
Maybe that Gengar in the last scene can start licking his chops for this matchup. But then again, you got something like, you could say Crocodile, you could Scarf Up, it's got some good countermeasures to some of those, but Crocodile lost Pursuit. Which is, it's a shame. It was an excellent Pursuit trapper, especially with Moxie.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'd say it was about as good as Metagross, because that could get some real surprising Pursuit kills with that insane attack stat.
Also worth noting, we know that Gliscor probably looks really good when you consider the fact that we are banning HP Ice this season. It probably might lose a lot more hits than you can think of. But it also lost Toxic, and that Poison Heal Toxic Orb set, with it just sitting there and roosting while you get whittled down by Toxic, was an excellent option that it now lost access to.
Now, going back to the speed control, I will say one thing you can't forget: Slurpuff does get sticky web, which you'd have to kind of know.
Forget that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's had it
not
since
patently obvious.
last gen. I've used it before. It's gotten me a 6-0. Not the Slurpuff itself, but the sticky web has contributed to it.
I've not gotten Slurpuff drafted and not used its webs. I did overlook its sticky webs, though. Yeah, that does make this a lot better, because Mega Gallade under webs, or the ability to run Bandit Victini over Scarf, or Spec Victini over Scarf, is pretty big.
That's phenomenal.
And if you want to try to defog it away, I've seen competitive Milotic and Defiant Empoleon both put in work.
Oh, comparative Milotic gives me PTSD. I actually lost a game to it because I was running 3 Intimidate ones. Ooh, that was not good.
I'm just saying, the options are there. It has a bit of synergy built in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do just want to circle back on that Krookodile. You were talking about Scarf. I mean, Scarf that thing up with Moxie, it's brutal, but Moxie in general is just brutal here. It gives him that physically offensive boost he needs on this team. Yes, he has some physical threats, but that's one of his biggest ones when you consider Moxie. Plus, that Intimidate is also going to help here quite a bit.
One move that could cause this
roster.
I'm sorry?
And Milotic.
Which lets him get in for defog, at least the Empoleon.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will say that could cause a real problem for this team, though, is just a single move. U-turn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got Azel, you've got Crook, you got Rotom, you got Malamar, GG. Plus, nothing really exists outside of, I see Empoleon, I see Blastoise. I think Slurpuff resistant, yeah, Slurpuff resistant.
Yeah.
But none of those want to take repeated hits. You line this up against Mega Beedrill. Problem.
Whoa.
Big problem.
Big problem.
Yeah, what does he even have that can just objectively deal with that?
He's got Blastoise and Empoleon, but now you know that the Empoleon and Blastoise, you turn out, and you've got some water or ice type move coming in at it.
Yeah. U-turn is just too common of a move to have this kind of a weakness to.
Yeah. Especially if they get rocks up, just because it has some hazard here, and we talk about things like the Gliscor and the Rotom-Mow and the Empoleon getting the defog. Nothing on the team really wants to take those hazards, though. Gliscor doesn't resist. Victini takes a decent chunk of damage. Rotom doesn't resist to the Roxanne even when it wants to come for defog. You'll take a healthy amount of chip damage coming in, and that can help break through things like the Empoleon or the Milotic.
Yeah, and it makes it predictable because the only Mon that really wants to be taking them is Empoleon, so you're going to expect that to be the one to come in so you can make the predict and just, click the Thunderbolt or whatever you have.
Yeah. But now we come to the tough decision. The letters and a symbol. Going on the type overlap alone, honestly, I know I was joking about it last time out, and this team can do a lot of damage when put in the right position, but based on the draft alone and not taking the coach into account, I think I would go with a C+.
No.
Got you.
Okay.
No, for real, it's a B.
Okay.
Yes, I was going to say B. I was going to counter you with a B plus bordering A minus. Yes. Big psychic overlap here. And you can be worried about those U-turns, but really good speed tiers, really good offensive presence, have the speed control with the Thunderwave users and Slurpuff with the sticky webs. You're balanced on both sides of the attack, and you can have some you can get variable with some of your sets, like with your Victini or yourself, and tons of coverage from Gallade too. a balanced, mixed offensive team. And I think it could put in some damage if you avoid certain matchups.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this a B pretty much up and down. That weakness to U-turn and those type overlaps really just can't be ignored. But this team, these Mons would work fantastically together from a stat standpoint, from an ability standpoint, from, if about half of them were a different type. These Mons have that potential, but the typing is just too much of a problem. It's a B. It just has to be a B.
Fair enough.
Right.
Who is next for the chopping block?
That would be the South Derry Scizors, coached by Pierce.
A man I am very familiar with from the IPL.
I believe it's your turn, Haybuck.
Yes, it is. So, he joined us for season 4, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, he replaced last season.
Champion.
Yes. And he is coming to us during season 5 with Excadrill, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Kyurem, Sylveon, Poltegeist, Slowking, Gigalith, Jolteon, Komala, and Mega Garchomp. I'm looking at this team right now, and I have two major problems that stick out to me. Number one, I kind of hate his speed tiers. I kind of really hate his speed tiers. He has a 130 that drops into a 92, or a 95, I apologize. I also don't like the physical defense hole on his team. That is something that can definitely be exploited. His real only physical defensive Mons are Mega Garchomp and Gigalith. Those are the only two things that can take a physical punch very well. You sure Slowking can, but if Slowking is Slowking, it's relying on regenerate. It's relying on, so many other things. Just switch in Gigalith, Garchomp, that's really it.
Granted, some of those holes that you pointed out, he has some ways to cover up. You talk about the slow speed tiers. He's got an Excadrill and Sand. An Excadrill and Sand is really hard to outspeed. You talk about the problems with the physical defense. And yes, I think that's a glaring hole, where Gigalith is the only Mon that really wants to run a Phys-Def set. Until you consider the fact that not only can Slowking run that Phys-Def set with the Regenerator, like you said, but so can Amoonguss. And the two together in a regen core actually makes it standable that you can switch the two back and forth to take some physical hits.
And let's not forget
happen,
Arcanine with Intimidate and Will-O-Wisp.
Yeah, that's a good point. I completely overlooked that.
I think, does Poltegeist get Will-O-Wisp as well?
No,
I
think it does, and it also gets Strength Sap.
It does get Strength Sap, that is correct.
Poltegeist is slept on hard.
Does get Will-O-Wisp.
Yeah, and Strength Sap, it does get both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Poltegeist is slept on. That thing is brutal.
I got swept by one. It crit through me, the only Mon that could switch into it, and then it just bodied the rest of my team.
And on top of all of that, it gets Shell Smash.
Mm-hmm. And again, that helps your speed tiers a little bit. But again, it's reliant on getting the sand set up, getting the Shell Smash set up, and you're right. If that doesn't happen, oh man, anything above 110 has a field day until it gets up to that 130 from Jolteon, which Jolteon lost hidden power. And almost every single Jolteon set was running hidden power.
It lost Signal Beam too. The thing got kneecapped.
That is the only way to put it, but it's still funny to hear it.
I want to like this team.
Yeah, this is a classic Pierce team to what I've seen in the past. And he has done tremendously well with unassuming teams like this that look like they've got some glaring weaknesses, because he can pull off some amazing sets. I remember once he ran last generation Flying Z, Alamomola to Oko a Horlucha.
I've seen it.
Wow.
This guy is like one of the greatest innovators that I've seen for a long, long time. If anyone can make this work, it's probably Pierce. But we're not here to judge Pierce. We're here to judge his team. And his team is kinda meh. That's the only way I can really describe it. It's not bad, but it's not great.
Now, I will say one thing this team has going for it is its cleric options. It has 3 cleric options for status removal, and it has 3 wish passers. Especially that Jolteon with full switch.
That's true, but only coming off base 65 HP. Same with that Kamala, though.
Yeah.
Sylveon will take a lot of the pressure on it, but it does get baton pats, which could help it out in that way.
Oh, that is a point.
Let's not sleep on Kyurem. Kyurem got some moves this gen. I don't know if you heard about the moves Kyurem got this gen.
Oh, you mean Dragon Dance and Icicle Spear?
And more importantly, Freeze Dry.
Yup. Yeah, suddenly this thing has an option for bulky water types, which previously just pretty much walled the thing.
Kyurem was always my boy. Like, he has won me games by himself. I absolutely love Kyurem to death. Like, I don't care. I don't care much about Kyurem Black. I never have. But regular Kyurem, I'm always down to run.
It's a good mon. We'll have to see how he handles it with this team, but I think it's unassuming mons. Hopefully, he can make the best out of him. It's a pretty good sand core. That Mega Garchomp in the sand without the threat of HP Ice, which it could already tank anyway, might do some big damage. Could break open some holes. That way, something like an Excadrill or a Poltegeist or a Kyurem can set up and sweep at the end of the game.
So, with that much offensive pressure that it can put in, as well as some fantastic bulky mons, while it is somewhat lacking in defense, where do we put it?
To me, I think it's an A-. I think it's got a lot of offensive pressure. I think it can handle a lot of threats going at him. I think the speed holes are pretty big. I think the Fizz Staff with the Regenerator and the Intimidate can be mitigated, but also can be broken through. And we didn't talk too much about the hazards. All 3 of the Rock Setters are the Sand Core. So if you want to bring sand and have them all go, you're relying on Gigalith. And your spinners are either Excadrill, which you don't always have the move slots for, or Kamala, which is bad. Kamala's just bad. So it throws. Maybe I'm convincing myself to even drop this to a B+.
Yeah, I was at a B, maybe a B+, but I really do not like the fact that its entire hazard core is also its sand core. It's wasting move slots, and if you're putting it on the Gigalith, remember, you're wasting a turn of sand because that's what sets up sand. It's not like you can put in the Garchomp, hit Stealth Rock, and then you put sand up with Gigalith. No, no matter what, you're wasting a turn of sand there, which is bad when you consider that's this team's biggest threat. I'm gonna have to go with the B.
I'll agree with the B. I want to like this team. I can't. I can't do it. It's a B.
All right. With that said, Battle Division to the Finny Division.
It would be the Quahog Quagsires, coached by J-Pole.
Arguably the most dominant FPL coach that we've seen since his entry as a replacement coach in the middle of season 3.
Yeah.
Racked up 7-0 while entering the league with terrible mons. He specifically took awful mons with so much type overlap and went 7-0 with it. And how does he follow it up his first full season? drafts another team of underwhelming Mons, headlined by, I think he took Mega Obama Snow again. I think he took Mega Obama Snow. And what did he do? Won the regular season title.
No, he ran Mega Audino, not Mega Obama.
No, he picked up Audino for the playoffs.
Oh shit, you're right.
He grave robbed it. He upgraded to a Mega Audino. That tells you about some of the team that he was running. This season, he's going, I think, again for more of the same. He's got Mons like Aegis, Koboho, Leo Queen, Espeon, Vaporeon, Cryogonal, Golisopod, Podrick Special, Meganium Trash, Berserker, and Mega Tyranitar. On paper, it's unassuming. It's a slow team, maxed out at one time. We've seen some slower, but doesn't go try that. A bit of a gap from 101 Dundee team to 85 Omaha. And some overlapping types again. You've got 2 water types, you got 2 steel types, you got, is that it? That might just be it. Yeah. Still some presence and some threatening Mons. Aegislash cannot be slept on. We barely unbanned it. Yes, it lost Toxic. That's all set. And yes, it got nerfed in a couple of ways. Its base stats all went down by 10 in its effective forms, and King Shit went from -2 to -1. But it's still so annoying to break. You gotta hit it with something hard when it's not in its main form. If it's in its shield form and you try to hit it hard and you don't kill it, it gets off.
And to add to that, don't forget, it also got close combat this gen.
Oh, yeah. So you try to bring in a Dark Titan and say, oh, I can play Descent. I bring in a Steel Titan. I can play Descent all day. Bam. Punch you in the face. A lot. And if you want to talk about decent type synergy, look at that Aegislash next to the Mega. Other than a ground weakness that you can mitigate with some other Mons. Fighting type weakness coming at Mega Tyranitar, switch into Aegislash. Fire type or Ghost type or Dark type coming at Aegislash, switch into your Mega Tyranitar. They cover each other really, really well, I think, and Mega Tyranitar is an underrated Mon. It's got that. Look at that thing. You can EV that in any way you want, and you can make it a setup sweeper, you can make it a bulky rocker, you can make it wall hits and phase out with rocks and then roar. It could run special. I've seen special T-Tar put in work, respectable 95 special attack.
It can just DD on your ass.
J-Pole's a creative coach.
Mm-hmm. But remember, we're here to rank the team, not the coach. Yeah. Well, what I will say looking at this is one Mon you haven't talked about that I think is, well, 2 of them that I think are really important here. Komao is great on this team. I mean, overall, this team's underwhelming, like you said. These are pretty unassuming Mons. This is not a blockbuster team of blockbuster Mons. That Komao looks great on this team. That Nidoqueen I also really like on this team. Sheer Force on that Nidoqueen is also not something to sleep on.
For sure.
Plus, I mean, you've got Magic Bounce with the Espeon, which is a great segue down into his hazard control, which is really solid.
The removal, you have to see the Thundee. With the advent of boots and getting Rapid Spin to be able to boost its speed by 1, or Defog if there's a Ghost type on the other team, it has pretty good options.
Cryogonal always had Rapid Spin.
I know it did, but with the speed boost coming from Rapid Spin.
Oh, sorry, you'd cut out if you'd said that.
Yeah. Now, that speed boost makes it a pretty big threat.
Oh yeah, definitely. If it hadn't been for getting 2 full paralysis, I could have actually swept with a Cryogonal a couple of weeks ago. It is that much of a threat with speed. I was against a rain team freeze dry. With rapid spin, you can just run modest and just annihilate people.
And I also want to point out, he has 2 decent wish passers. Well, I mean, one's amazing in day 4. But I mean, Espeon can get the job done. Doesn't have great base HP, but it's also not the worst I've ever seen. It can take the hit to get out. It can switch in on a magic bounce. That mon works really well here too.
Espeon is really underrated. I actually really like it as a mon. I'd probably rather have it than a couple of other psychics.
Now, I do also just want to say I have no idea what the I don't know if he just grabbed that because he didn't know what to grab, but I also know what he's done with Golisopod and Mudsdale in the past. I'm waiting to watch him do something absolutely insane with this thing, but more realistically, I think it was just I guess I have to pick.
Which you cut out.
Oh, sorry, Meganium.
Oh, well, Meganium is a fairly good utility mon. It's got both screens, it's got Leech Seed, Aromatherapy, and Dragon Tail, Giga Drain. Not sure what you're getting at now.
Yeah,
It's
It
got no offense, the defense is not that strong. Yes, it gets the screens.
It's got like 4 to 5 moves that it can do. That's literally it.
We'll see. I think it has a spot, but granted, it's not a necessary mon on this team. If you say, I needed to take water hits, you have a Vaporeon. I need to take electric hits, you have a Thundurus. You need to take grass hits, you have a plethora of mons here, whether it be the Como-O, whether it be the Aegislash, whether it be the Berserker, which actually has some really respectable attack stats. Watch out for that Berserker. If he can get that in with a chance that you get banded either with Tough Claws or with Steely Spirit, it's going to hit a lot harder than you think it's going to hit.
I don't rate Berserker very highly, probably because I've never actually seen it in action, so I want J. Paul to show me what this mon's all about this season.
And let's not sleep on the fact he has 2 tier 5 mons. When we start talking about reward upgrades later in the season, Meganium or Berserker are pretty good candidates to upgrade his team and bring him a little something more special.
That Meganium could be upgraded to an actual Grassmon.
Oh my god.
What a concept.
So on paper, a grade for me, it's underwhelming. We all know it's going to be a J-Pole special. It's probably a B- for me. Maybe a B. But it's got the tools where, if handled right, I mean, it could be special. We could see some things here that it could be pretty good if handled correctly, and I think J-Pole has a chance to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. It's a B-. I'm not, but if we were rating the team with the coach, I'd probably give this something on the order of an A. But it's a B- just on paper. If you handed this to me to pilot, it's a B best.
Yeah, I've got no doubts that J. Paul is a very, very good coach, but it just feels like half a team, B-.
All right, so I think it's time to move on to our Season 1 champion. Awesomeness guy. I believe Inaria, you're up for this one?
Well, what's the team name?
The Orlando Bulbasaurs.
Yes, the Orlando Bulbasaurs.
Alright. Here we
He
go.
is one of 2 coaches that has not only been in the FPL from the beginning, but has also made playoffs every single season of the FPL. He is so consistent. He is such a strong battler, and he's an even better drafter. He puts together some really good threatening teams that complement each other well, and I think he might have done it again.
Well, then let's have a look at it. He drafted Keldeo, my mascot Corviknight, Hydreigon, Reuniclus, Snorlax, Donphan, Rabombi, Quahog, Lycanroc Midnight, Raichu, and Haybook's favourite, Venusaur Mega. Well, what can't you say about this team? It's got some fantastic speed, barring a... No, fantastic speed. 98 drops off to 82. That is perfectly fine. You've got the bulk, all the bulk that you need with Snorlax, Donphan, Quahog, and Mega Venusaur. You have some absolutely nuts offensive potential with Reuniclus, Hydreigon, Keldeo. You've got Rabombi, which is always a fantastic option. Just this team has it all, really.
Yeah, I was about to say, what can't you say about this team? You can't say it's bad. That's about it.
Yeah.
And you talked about the speed tiers. We have the upper echelon is in a really good place, but let's not forget, with Quahog and Reuniclus, two excellent Trick Room setters, and a Snorlax under Trick Room, that could be devastating. Donphan can unlock an offensive ability by being able to go under Trick Room. Hey, look, if you had Mega Venusaur under a Trick Room option, I guarantee you would have tried it.
Oh god, yeah, I would have. Absolutely, I would have.
Also worth noting, Corviknight and Venusaur together are really solid defensive. Corviknight, we talked about only having two weaknesses, Fire and Electric. Venusaur resists the Electric, and with the thick bat is neutral to the fire attacks coming at it. But you could also pass on to the Snorlax with the thick bat, or the Keldeo that could take on the fire attacks really well. Venusaur is only weak to Psychic and Flying when you take into account the thick bat, and Corviknight takes both of those excellently.
Let's not overstate the Corviknight's support. Hydreigon also just straight up resists both fire and electric rather well with that for a dragon with 92 HP with 90 special defense as an offensive dragon, that is bloody good.
Yeah, and I mean, it also switches into the Psychic that Mega Venusaur
just
fine.
Like, honestly, this team is one of the best I've seen. I'm trying to find a hole in it, and
there are some shortcomings, some minor ones. If you want to talk about Stealth Rocks, he has only one, being that Donphan.
No,
so the Donphan, if you want
Midnight Lycanroc.
Lycanroc too, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you bringing a Lycanroc now?
I mean, you could.
In certain matchups, yeah, hell yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a great one, but...
It's not great, but let's face it, 82 speed, Scarf, No Guard, Stone Edge?
I mean, there's a point to every mon except for Meganium.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I mean...
Meganium, you can argue has a point.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Yes, good options across the entirety of the team, and so many ways that you can break through this team. He can outstall you. Something like Corviknight gets behind a substitute with pressure and can set up on you. Venusaur is so hard to break with Leaf Seed and Synthesis. Or you go the offensive route. I'm going to start clicking Quiver Dance with Rabombi, or Calm Mind with Keldeo, or Trick Room with Reuniclus, and drop in the speed. Lots of options.
I think if I had to pick a negative here, the only thing I don't like about this team is it doesn't have a lot. Yeah, sure, Raichu has Wish. You're not going to want to run that on a Raichu. Rabombi has aromatherapy. You're not going to want to run that on a Rabombi. At least not unless there's specific circumstances that necessitate it. That's really the only hole I see here.
Yeah. Snorlax may have Rest, and Reuniclus may have Magic Guard and Regenerator. But you don't really want to take too many Toxics on this team. You're definitely going to want to stay away from that. Corviknight as well definitely doesn't want to see any Willows.
Yeah, and if you're wasting the move slot on Rabambi for aromatherapy, you have a problem.
Yeah.
But at least you got something like Mega Venusaur that can absorb some toxics and toxic spikes if they come their way.
Yeah.
There's a positive there.
That is a positive there. But the point is basically try and stay away from being Thunderwaved.
Yeah. That's how you beat this team.
Yeah, just click Thunderwave.
Which is why I had to rate this is an S-, maybe even an S. If we're getting really nitpicky, saying you really need a better Wish Pass than Raichu and a better Aromatherapy than Rabambi and a better Rocker than Lycanroc, you got a good team. Got an excellent team.
Well, considering basically paralyzing the team is pretty much the only way that we've thought on how to beat it, other than hacks the living crap out of it, I think this is definitely worthy of, I think, the first S- that we've given.
I thought I got an S-.
Yeah, I gave you an S-.
I think I gave you an A or an A+.
You averaged to an A+.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give this the S- then.
Yeah, I'm going to give this the S- too. This team just has so few holes.
And
like you said, you have to paralyze it to deal with it.
And while we're on the subject of the first S in general, there's S, there's A, there's B, and there's C. There's just literally those 4 rankings with a plus and a minus. It may seem like we're talking good about everyone, or poking holes in everything, but everyone is remaining consistent around the A and the B tiers.
Oh, yeah.
So there's really not much in it. People just have...
It's a competitive league. Everyone's drafted really well.
Yeah. So congratulations, everyone, so far on actually managing to keep this. But I'm still upset that I haven't found someone to give a C to yet.
Don't worry.
3 teams left.
Don't worry, and plus you got the entire developmental.
Oh yeah, true. I can give
And I saw some not great drafts in that.
Yeah, I can give Haybook the C.
Oh, fuck off.
I don't think you'll be able to. Not Haybook.
Yeah, I definitely won't be able to. Like, even if we weren't doing these together, I won't be able to give you a damn C. I've seen that bloody team. I saw that team as you were drafting it.
Let's move on to our next coach, though, Inano.
Yes, sorry,
Yeah,
we're not on to developments yet.
Alright, next up is the Alpine Arcanines, coached by our friend Lion. He's a newcomer to our league, but he's not a newcomer to the format. He's a fantastic coach. I've seen him do some real work in some other leagues. I'm excited to have him on board to see what he can do with us. His mons are Heatran, Tapu Bulu, Hawlucha, Inteleon, Tentacruel, Exceligor, Dubwall, Electros, Piloswine, Dugod, Volibee, and Megalatias. Now, this team, first off, has phenomenal hazard control. I really like what I'm seeing here. We have 2 options for Toxic Spikes. We have good options for Stealth Rock. Piloswine does want to be running that. You've got 1, 2, 3 defog options. You got a Rapid Spin option. This team's great. The only thing it's missing there is webs. And looking at the speed tiers, you really don't need it. You got great speed tiers. 145 drops to a 120, drops to a 118, drops to a 110 to a 100. This team has great speed tiers. Now, I will say there are 2 Eviolite mons on this team. Piloswine I'm expecting to see come a lot more than Volibee, but that is still something to keep in mind. Plus, Electros relies really heavily on its items too, so knockoff is a huge issue for the lower tiers on this team. It also does have a decent weakness to electric. You got Hawlucha, you got Inteleon, you got Tentacruel, you got Volibee that all really don't want to deal with the strong electric stab. You do have some switch-ins, but they're pretty obvious switch-ins.
That's fair. I mean, there is some good synergy on this team. Let's talk about classic Bulu-Tran combo.
Yeah.
Tapu Bulu, particularly weak to Ice-type moves. Definitely poison type move, fire type move, and steel type moves. I think that's all of them.
Yes.
Heatran can take every single one of those. Quad resists both the steel and the ice, and is immune to the poison and the fire.
Now, it's flying, but that's the same thing.
Flying, yes, which Heatran resists 2 times as well. On the other side, Heatran, super weak to ground type moves, fighting type moves, and water type moves. Bulu resists the water and the fighting, but at the same time, sets up the grassy terrain, which cuts the effects of earthquake in half to protect the Heatran. Partner that with the Hawlucha. Come in under Bulu's Grassy Surge. Activate the Unburden with the Grassy Seed to double its speed and up its defense by 1, and then start sweeping team.
Yeah, any team with a Hawlucha and a Tapu is a threat. Is a very large threat.
And a Mega Latias. Hello. I'm a Mega Latias. I'm gonna set up. Give me some Calm Minds. You can't kill me. You can't Toxic me because we got rid of most of the Toxic Mons in the game.
Yep.
And I'm just going to set up to +6 and kill you.
But even then, while you did remove a lot of the Toxic Mons, those that remain, only Tentacruel and Heatran, can't be hit by it.
True.
That's fair. And I'm just eyeballing this. Yeah, the stats probably don't back. But other than Tentacruel and Electros, I really don't like much he has tier 3 and below.
Yeah, it's definitely... It is definitely a tier 3 and above team that's just solid. And Piloswine, of course, is always fantastic.
It's an excellent budget mon.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It can bring the same set every single week and do something good for you.
I've never seen a Piloswine do bad unless I've used it. And that's only because I'm mediocre at best. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the Volibee, I don't like the Dugwolf, I don't like the Exceligor, and I don't like the Inteleon. I think he took the Inteleon just to kind of prove a point, because people were trashing it right before he took it, and he was defending it, but I just really don't like it here. It just opens up that electric weakness a little bit more.
I'm going to keep on trashing it until he proves and gets some kind of miracle sweep with it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I hope he proves us wrong, but I just don't think it has the right coverage. It's got great speed and great special attack, but not the right moves to take advantage of it.
It's got like 4 decent coverage moves. It's got like, obviously, the water. It's got Ice Beam, it's got Shadow Ball, and it's got what?
I think it gets Air Slash?
Maybe? Let me check.
And then it off an override choice move, and then you want to give it...
Yeah, but even then, with water and ice, they basically hit the same things, so that's negligible. Then
Air Slash, yeah, Air Slash. It does get Dark Ball.
Okay.
Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball are more or less interchangeable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've basically got Water Stab, Ice Coverage, an interchangeable Dark or Ghost move, and like Air Slash.
It's basically a shittier version of Suicune.
Yeah, it really... Yeah. It's a frail Suicune.
Yeah. We'll have to see the difference. It's still got decent bones to the team, yes. You're already looking at, basically 4 mons that are coming every week in the Latias, the Heatran, the Bulu, and the Lucha.
Don't forget the Piloswine.
And the Piloswine probably comes week 5 to be the fifth mon. I mean, either it or the Heatran are bringing rock. Piloswine always has the move slot for it, which helps open up the Heatran. But Piloswine also is running the Earthquake. Underneath that Tapu Bulu, not only will it weaken the Earthquake, it's in danger of getting hit by some grass type attack.
Ooh, that is actually a problem. Yikes. Good call.
Yeah. And no ghost type, I want to point out, because there is a bit of a building fighting weakness a bit here. The Vullaby doesn't resist it even as a flying type. Piloswine is weak. Double is weak. Tentacruel can resist. Hawlucha can resist, but not really. Tentacruel doesn't want to take all the physical fighting attacks. Bulu basically is the only, and Latias are your ways to try to get through some of those fighting type attacks, and I think they'll be coming along.
Yeah, that could prove to be a big problem. It all depends on how the coach plays around it, but that's not what we're going on here.
No, it is not. Are we ready to give this a score?
I personally am. I've got all my Intellion bashing out of me.
Then lead us off. What is it?
Well, given the fact that there's Bulu, Tran, and Lucha, that'd usually go for something quite high. But then there's the entire rest of the team other than Piloswine, and even then, Piloswine kind of gets hurt a bit by Bulu.
You just skipped over a Mega Latias.
Oh, yeah, that's because it wasn't on my screen at the time. Okay, there is also the Mega Latias, which is probably the most dangerous mon on this guy's team, other than poor Lucha, once it's got its Unburden Pot. So, with basically 5-6 mons in total, out of, how many did he draft? 11?
11.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, for half a draft, I will give this a B, maybe B+.
I think a B+ is right. Top tier synergy threats at the top with a couple of interchangeable parts to tweak it the way that you need it each week. I think it's a viable team. I think it's a dangerous team, but it is a one-track mind kind of team.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to swing a little. I ran a very predictable team in terms of what I was bringing in Season 1. It was a Coco Lucha, funny enough, and I was bringing basically the same 5 mons every single week, and then the 6th one was being tweaked every time. My problem was, yeah, that worked fantastically for the first half of the season, or first half of the season. Then people figured out what I was doing, and then I just couldn't win games, to the point where right before playoffs, I basically just didn't bring Coco Lucha for the sake of not bringing Coco Lucha because I was having problems. I'm worried that's going to happen here too. Lion is a much better coach than I was at that point by a very wide margin, but I still just don't like how much of a one-trick pony this team is. I'm going to have to go B-.
Alright, so we've got all forms of B.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, we're almost done. We got 2 more to go, and I will lead us off to our penultimate team, and that is the Texas Toros, coached by Savage. Someone that we've seen in a couple other in the DFL. A strong coach, a playoff quality coach. We're looking forward to having him here. And he's drafted a team of Blacephalon, Latios, Buzzwole, Aerodactyl, Gastrodon, Shaman, Surfetch, Skuntank, Butterfree, Galarian Rapidash, and Mega Scizor. First thing that I notice are offensive threats. You've got a sweeping Blacephalon that hits hard, and you know that it hits hard. You've got a Latios with a bunch of solid options. You've got Aerodactyl, which has the speed and offensive prowess to be able to be really dangerous. Surfetch with Scrappy can hit everything with really good coverage as well. And let's not sleep on the 150 attack with Sword Stance Mega Scizor, which now doesn't have to be as afraid of HP fires. There is some threats offensively here.
I want to be the first to say this is exactly the kind of team that I would personally draft. This is beautiful.
I do have to point out one massive flaw here. He has a single rocker and no one else that can set a single hazard.
That is super true.
He has a crap load of defoggers, don't get me wrong, but the only money he has that can set any hazards of any kind is Aerodactyl. And Aerodactyl does not really want to be doing that.
Yeah,
Not
that's...
every week.
I'd probably have traded out that Butterfree for another rocker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Absolutely.
I'm not sure what his plan is with that Butterfree.
Yeah. Because getting rid of that Butterfree and putting in another rocker would really make this team something that I would use myself.
Especially since he already has a flying type and Aerodactyl type in Buzz.
Yeah. And also a bug type in Scizor.
And a bug type in Scizor. Maybe even throw out some suggestions here if Savage actually... You could be looking at... You have a ground type and a steel type, neither of which are able to set from. That's a pretty good option right there, being able to bring in and drop that Butterfree and grab something small in Tier 5. Maybe, have we seen Regirock? Regirock might be available.
We have seen Regirock.
Yeah, it was this second.
Dang it. I'm sure there's something else down there.
Yeah, it's just...
That's, what, Tier 5? Let me check.
Yeah.
They'll find something.
Yeah, yeah. You can have a look if you watch this video. And also, please don't hate us too much for judging harshly, but I love the team, just you've got no hazards, bro.
Yeah, it's good defense, but it needs the hazards to really make it shine.
Oh, hey.
Noting? Go ahead.
I was going to say, oh, hey, here you go, Crustle.
Oh, yeah.
Rocks and spikes, and another potent setup sweeper. I once got 11 kills in 2 games with a Crustle.
I remember that.
Crustle is amazing.
It is the best Tier 5, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's a good Tier 5. But anyways, back to the team that you do have. Quick things to point out the speed tiers. You have that 130 with the arrow. Then you compress 4 Mons within, with the Latios at 110, the Blacephalon at 107, the Galarian Rapidash at 105 until you hit 100. So right now I've listed half of your team already over base 1. You then drop down to the Skuntank at 84 and the Buzzwole at 79, neither of which will always take the speed, as well as the Mega Scizor at 75. Might not take the speed. I think you've got a bit of a gap in those 80s and 90s that might need some patching up.
Yeah, Butterfree is the fastest one that I actually see taking the speed, because Surfetch definitely isn't, and why would you take speed on a friggin' Gastrodon?
No.
Yeah.
So anything below that 100, I really don't see the speed being taken on it.
And in prep, that's something I can consider. But still, the Mons are threatening. You can't doubt that. And the fact that the Mega Scizor doesn't have to face HP Fire is big. Now, granted, I do think he could do a little better in shoring up some of the protecting that fire weakness. Your rock type and Aerodactyl isn't quite bulky enough. Your fire type and Blacephalon is not bulky enough. Your dragon type and Latios, not always bulky enough when you always want to run it offensively. You're relying heavily on the Gastrodon, and a lot of fire types have some grass coverage, whether it be Grass Knot or Energy Ball, or Power Whip in a lot of situations.
What fire type gets Power Whip?
Actually, Centiskorch does.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And some Mons that sometimes will run fire coverage have Power Whip as well, like Goodra.
Yeah. That comes to mind immediately.
And Gyarados.
And Gyarados with Flamethrower and Power Whip, yeah. Things to consider. It's a good Mon. It just doesn't quite get I don't think that
I don't think it should be
this
alone.
team has the right synergy defensively.
Yeah.
Or hazardly.
It's like, I don't think Gastrodon should be alone in taking fire hits.
No.
I see offense with some lacking defense here. Shaman can get bulky, Buzzwole can get bulky, but they can just take hits. They can't necessarily do those little cleric hazard setting annoying things other than just sit here, take hits, and recover them.
Yeah. Alright, so do we want to give this a score?
I think we do. But what are we going to give it?
The parts of this team I love, I really love. The parts of the team I hate, I really... That makes it difficult, but I think I'm just going to go with an even B. I think that averages out. There's some pieces of the team that, if they were supported properly, would be an S, no question. There are some parts of this team that don't work together to the point that it could be a C. So I'm just going to average that to a B.
Yeah, what it's got offensively is really, really fantastic, but it just doesn't piece together.
Yeah, I foresee some very quick matches with this team.
Yeah, this is really like a jigsaw team. In a way, it's like you've got all the pieces, but they don't fit together in the right order. I'd agree with B.
I agree with the B as well. Very middle of the road, great options, but are they the right options together at any point? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe talk to your other coaches. You've got a lot of pieces.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure some other people would love some of your pieces in order to help your team get more of a solid fixture.
Absolutely. And I think that leaves one last team.
Yes, the Alola Pacinians.
Now, I don't know anything about Siggy. Are they a newcomer?
They're new to the league. Matt and I have both played with him in that Ubers League. He's with us in that.
All right.
So he's a pretty good coach. Good guy, good coach. So do you want to start going through his team? I believe, Matt, this is your turn.
I haven't done one for a while.
Take us home. You're the analyst.
Yeah, do it all.
Yeah, well, it's about time I came along and finished one for you guys. So, let's get through this team. It is Darmanitan Galar, Latias, Mandibuzz, Chandelure, Seismitoad, Whimsicott, Mesprit, Registeel, Hitmonchan, Luxray. Oh, and remember that Psychic team? It's going to have a lot of trouble dealing with Mega Beedrill.
Yep.
This team is offense out the ass. I don't know how else to describe it. It's pure offense with a couple of defensive positionals.
Oh, I think you really underestimate some of the bulk on this team.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely do.
Plus that Mandy, the Registeel is pure bulk. Mesprit can go any way you want. Whimsicott runs that utility set that can actually end up getting pretty bulky. AV on Hitmonchan's hard to break, and even Luxray with Intimidate.
I without a doubt do.
Latias can run a specially defensive set.
I'm not gonna lie. I really do underestimate Seismitoad, and it's cost me in the past because of those stats. It's like his defenses don't appear to be great, but that HP stat really makes a difference. Mandibuzz, I know, is fantastic as a defensive piece. Mesprit, not as good as Uxie, but definitely does the job, and Registeel obviously is all bulk. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the bulk isn't there, I'm just saying that it's bulky pieces.
That's fair. I do want to point out, and this is one of the things I noticed, Galarian Darmanitan, kind of the way that Matt built a team to support Mega Blastoise, I see here a team that was built to support Galarian Darmanitan. He's got great switches into Fire. He's got great switches into Steel. He's got great switches into Rock. That Registeel can eat Steel and Rock. That Latios can eat Fire. That Chandelure can Flash Fire and take that Fire. I mean, he's built a team around that to get a banded Galarian Darmanitan out to just start punching things.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Especially with maybe a Phaser Talent off the Whimsicott into that door. Yep, I can see it. I do think it would be nicer to see one thing that his team is lacking. If you say you want Galarian Darmanitan, the biggest thing that Galarian Darmanitan struggles through is bulky waters. And yes, you have the Seismitoad with the water absorb. Yes, you have Whimsicott, which is a grass type, but I don't think either of them are strong enough to necessarily get through water types, and your only electric type being Luxray. You might struggle to get through them to a degree.
Luxray has a problem getting through anything.
Beedrill does not get coverage. Shandy gets coverage.
Yeah, Chandelure gets energy ball.
Shandy's not going to do the job on his own.
Latias gets coverage.
That's fair. That might be the best answer he has.
Does Latias get energy ball as well as Thunderbolt, or is it just Thunderbolt?
No.
Okay,
no,
cool.
Beedrill gets Giga Drain.
Yeah, oh, yeah, and what are you going to run Giga Drain on that 15 special attack?
Never mind.
15 base special attack.
My bad.
Recuse yourself.
What are you going to do?
This happened on the last one.
Okay.
No. I mean, if Siggy, if you're out there and you find the time that you're up against 4 times weak to grass move, and you can make the right count to use that enormous 15 base special attack with that Giga Drain, power to you.
Or you know, just have a meme battle against Haybuck and destroy him with it.
No, that was me just being a dumbass and forgetting this. So please ignore me. I was joking earlier that I hadn't gotten the egg on my face. Well, I knew it was going to happen eventually.
Well, now you have officially egged your face.
Woo!
Congratulations.
So back to the team.
Right.
Some good hazards. Couple Rochesters here. The Registeel's
Registeel is always a solid one, as is Mesprit.
and good removal options with the Mandibuzz. Latias can run it. Prankster with the Whimsicott. You can spin with the Hitmonchan. Not a bad team. 5 up to the speed boost on Hitmonchan might actually make it a bit of a threat coming off the rapid spin. And the speed tier is pretty solid too. Mega Beedrill is blisteringly fast. Followed by the Whimsicott with the Prankster, and Tailwind might make it usable enough. Latias at 110, 95 with the Darm. Little gap, but not much that you can really take advantage of there. I actually checked. If you have a 109 base on, you're forced into running Timid because the modest speed ties the Galarian Darmanitan, which can also start.
And then you drop to 80 from there, which isn't a horrible gap.
Yeah, it's not horrible, but it's still managed. You might be able to manage a squeeze in there.
And a little thing to point out, between 80 and 70, Mesprit, Chandelure, and Mandibuzz are all 80. Hitmonchan 76, Seismitoad 74, Luxray 70. I have named now 6 Mons in between a band of 10. So maybe a bit of a problem there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's where the buck stops. That 70 is the slowest Mon, so it's not like he's leaving a big gap to take advantage of.
Registeel is the slowest at 50.
Oh, shoot. I forgot Registeel.
And if you can find a matchup where you're not bringing the Registeel, Trick Room becomes scary against this team.
Yeah.
It's such a high and one-dimensional speed stat. And worth noting, while the removal options are solid, if you can't get them in, this is a team weak. The Darm, the Mandy, the Shandy, and especially the Beedrill, which can't run the boots.
Ooh.
All really don't like the Stealth Rocks. You're going to be pressured a lot to remove hazards, and if you come into a Mandible do the defog, you might be getting...
I may also want to point out again that other than what Registeel and Mega Beedrill, all you need to do is click Toxic and outlast this team.
Yeah, but that being said, it does have 2 of the better Toxic users like Gen and Mandibuzz and Seismitoad.
True.
Not every team has that luxury of being able to click Toxic.
No, it doesn't. But if they do have that luxury, then you do have a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Last team, give it a grade.
In my notes, I originally had this written down as an S-, but looking at those speed tiers a little bit and the threat from Trick Room, I'm actually going to drop this down to an A+. I love this team. I think it covers really well. It doesn't have a huge hole. Oh, wait, there's a hole I completely missed. It doesn't have a lot of specially offensive options.
Oh, you mean its entire list of Latias and Chandelure?
Yeah. Yeah. I completely missed that when I was looking through that. So actually, let me drop that to an A.
I think it's lower than that. I think it's a B+.
Yeah, I'm going with B+ as well.
Yeah, actually, I'll drop down to an A-. I still think a lot going for it.
Oh, the team's got a lot going for it, but B+ with those kinds of holes is where I feel it's best suited.
That's totally fair.
All right, so.
Is that everything?
Yeah, that's all of them. I think we got through it.
Oh, man.
So,
Well, we have to... Well, then, I guess we have one last question for our main analyst, Rick. If you're looking at this right now, give me your top 3 teams in Inaria that you're looking out for going into this season.
Well, not to kiss my fellow analyst's ass here, but definitely Matt here. I'm looking at...
Don't kiss my ass, kiss the ring. Kiss the season.
how about I kiss your trophy and as I steal it?
Please.
Ginger.
yeah.
And... Ooh. What was another one?
What about the ass with awesomeness?
What was that team?
That was the Megavinu Corviknight team.
Yeah, that one. Awesomeness. Those would be my top 3.
You heard it here first. If you are Ginger, Awesomeness, or myself, you've been given the kiss of death from the analysts.
Congratulations, you are now not going to make finals. And if you do make finals, it was a kiss of love.
Thank you. I'm going to take it as such. Hey, Buck, take us home.
Yes, these are some great teams pretty much down the board. I'm really glad we got a chance to go through these. Be sure to come back in the next video when we talk about the FPDL, our developmental league, which contains myself and 15 other coaches. 11, fuck. I'll cut that out. Which contains myself and 11 other coaches who are trying to work their way back up to the main league. So, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you to my fellow commissioner and my analyst for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
All right. See you in the next video. Thanks, guys.
Peace.